As someone who's been in a 6 alliance Imperial Kingdom, a 4 alliance A Kingdom, 3 alliance, 2 alliance, 1 alliance Kingdom, and it's like 5 years of my experience, I happen to know a thing or two about being in leadership and all these type of things. So the first thing you need is to decide what power cap are you gonna be. Are you gonna be a low A, B Kingdom, high A, mid A, Imperium? You get the point. My experience, the best experience was being a low A Kingdom. So typically it's a 2 alliance, 1 alliance setup. There's less people, but there's like more of a healthy environment because the people who stick with you are there regardless of whether you win or lose. And that in turn makes a better environment for the new players that eventually come in, and they're just feel more comfortable because they know if a kingdom loses a KVK, it's not gonna go away. It's not gonna disappear from the competitive standpoint. So I think for people who are interested in that, those type of kingdoms, I think last longer than the one who chase rewards. I think the prime example was that 2755. I think they let in too many people too quickly just because they could, and they reached Imperium. They went to a KVK, and everyone disappeared after a loss. So that's a blueprint on what not to do. And I was openly against that decision to become Imperium, but because I know what was coming. But obviously, that didn't work out too well now, did it? So after you decide what power level you want to be, you want to optimize it the best you can. And you do that by trimming your fat each KVK. You do that by keeping track of stats. You can use various sites for that every month. And ideally, you want to get rid of people who are not contributing. You wanted to draw power. You wanted to migrate, whatever the choice you want. You want to keep it trimmed as possible because some people call it bad, some people call it selfish, but it is necessary because you're thinking about the whole kingdom. And the kingdom is more important than individual players. You want to provide the best environment and best possible conditions for the kingdom to be in a KVK where it's winnable but also very competitive. And you do that. In the off season is when you prepare the most for the KVK. And you do that by doing daily power ports to generate AP, resources, and then enjoying the one true build like I'm about to join right now. So you accumulate credits so you can use them in KVK. Now this depends on how big your kingdom is. If you're a smaller kingdom, you need less credits. If you're a bigger kingdom, you need more credits. But ideally, you want to be prepared at all times. So these are like the two fundamental things you need to do. Third thing is something that could be done, but if you haven't done it already, is to optimize the alliances in your kingdom. They're going to KVK to have the best possible buffs they can. So the amount of shrines on the map is limited, and 2 alliances is the most that you can have that are like fully maxed out when it comes to buffs. And then you have different like farm alliances that you can use in KVK. So you want to have them at least some type of buffs going into it. In the off season as well, you need to provide and reward players who have done well in the previous KVK by giving them MGE spots. So fixed MGE spots in off season and even in KVK if there is no fighting in that week is very good because it leaves out the randomness of people who get the sculptures. Because if you allow people to get sculptures that are not really going to be benefiting from, then it's just a waste. That also applies to like the 20 gold head events, but that's a bit too nuanced to manage sometimes. So I think some big kingdoms do it, some kingdoms don't. We in 2885 we don't do that. We only do the MGEs, and I think it's working so far. I think it's important to have people that can actually do something that's not restricted in a way. So I don't think it's going to get capped anytime soon. And last but not least, definitely not least, is you want to have people join the kingdom, but you have to be very selective of who actually joins. So The person responsible for letting people in has to take in mind not just the stats, but also their personality, their character, how would they fit in the community. If the stats are really good, but if the personality doesn't fit in, then that's just a bad fit. Because once again, you have to look at the kingdom perspective. If one person disrupts the whole kingdom and is not gelling and is not, you know, fitting in right, then that's causing, it might cause some issues, and you don't want to do that. So you would rather have a player with worse stats but the right type of mindset, personality, than a like really good stats but not the right fit. So I'll tell you experience from my own kingdom, for my first kingdom, 1142. Now we were in a spot that we were like winning KVKs back to back, but we didn't really get a lot of new people in each KVK. So what happened is the people who we played with, they didn't have the time anymore, or they were just fed up with the game, they quit, and we couldn't adequately replace them with similar or better players. And one by one, slowly by steadily, we were slowly dying, even though we were winning KVKs. So the more people leave, the more pressure there is on the ones who are left to perform. So the more people you have, less pressure. The less people have, more pressure. And it's once again very nuanced. If you're a lower kingdom, you have to take in mind to absolutely have no players in each KVK, but also be very careful who you let in, because sometimes getting on paper a really good player is not what he turned out to be. So to recap, in order to have a really competitive kingdom, first you need to identify your power cap, where you want to be in. And by the way, this also changes from time to time, so be careful with your decision and act accordingly. Second is you have to maintain that. So each KVK, make sure to have all the participants ideally performing the KVK, so you don't have to trim the fat after. In order to recover from a hard KVK or any KVK, you have to train troops, farm, do one troop builds for the alliance credits, for the individual credits, and for the alliance credits, more importantly. Do barbarian force for more AP and resources. And then, of course, you have some territory issues that you didn't finish in time, go back to do them. And of course, selective immigration. And once again, it's last but definitely not least. You do this every KVK, and you usually do this until the leadership is burned out. Happened in my experience. Like, we were winning KVKs and everything's going well, but the amount of work it needs to be able to do that takes a toll on you, and sometimes you just can't do it anymore. That is totally understandable. But to avoid that, you want to progressively add in people who might be interested in doing these type of things, who you trust. That's sometimes a very hard thing, but it is possible. You just have to be a bit more open-minded, and trust is a two-way street. You have to trust the other person not to fuck things up. But it's just how it is. If you want to if you want to remain at the level of competitiveness that you want to be in, it takes work. It's not gonna come overnight. You have to maintain it every day, and ideally, you want to have a full group of people in the kingdom that have all the same goals in mind. You want to find a good community, because the community keeps you playing. I would not play this long if there was no community that was fun and I feel understood and understand. It makes the whole gaming process of this game much more enjoyable, much more rewarding. And if you're playing just to get rewards and think it's like hollow experience, you're not getting the full experience of the game. And I feel sorry for you, because you're just being a mercenary in a game that it's not exactly meant to be like that. You can play like that, but I think it's not the right way to play that. If you chase KP, if you chase rewards, if you don't have a community that you can be yourself in, have a good time, have a good laugh, then you're playing the game wrong. So if you guys enjoyed the video, have any questions, let me know. Let me know down below, and I'll make sure to answer them. Like the video, subscribe, all that, and I'll see you in the next one.